Good afternoon, dear authors and invited guests. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the 6th International Congress on Information and Communication Technology through Zoom on behalf of ICICT 2021 and Global Knowledge Research Foundation. As every one of us is passing through unseen circumstances due to COVID-19, we wish everyone and their families a safe time, and we all will together pass this soon. Further, with immense happiness, I would like to share that we have received an overwhelming response this year from across 90 countries, where 1,150 papers were received and 350 papers were accepted, contributing to the success of this conference, and the papers would publish in 4 volumes this year. We are thankful to all our guests present on this platform to join us digitally for the conference in these unpredictable times, and make this conference more fruitful in terms of technical knowledge, and hope you will enjoy the 2 days of the knowledge-filled and interactive sessions. I would like to welcome you to the technical session number 1 and further introduce you all to the chair for this session, Professor Swati V. Chand. Professor Swati V. Chand has around 29 years of experience in teaching, industry, and research. She also has an extensive corporate and technical training experience. She obtained her PhD from Bonastali University, MS in Software Systems from Birla Institute of Technology and Science, Pilani, and also has an MSc in Mathematics. She has authored a book, chapters in books, and a significant number of papers and articles in national and international publications. Her research interests include software engineering, genetic algorithms, and database query optimizations. She is a member of various professional bodies and academic committees of different universities. Okay, now for the first presenter, Sergey Kurashkin will present hardware control of the electron beam energy density by the heating spot. You have 10 minutes. I'll notify you on the 10th minute that you still have 2 minutes. And at the end, we have 3 minutes for questions. Floor is yours. Okay, so the next presenter is...
He's here. I saw him.
Oh, he's here.
He's in our participants. Yeah.
I think you can share your screen and please go ahead with your presentation.
Yeah, I can share my screen and go with the presentation, or...
No, I think the author can share her screen and go for the presentation. The first one.
Yeah.
Is Sarek here? From Russia, the paper title is Hardware Control for Electron Beam Energy by Heating Spot. Is he here, or is any of the co-authors present here? No? Okay, then I think we can move on to the next presenter. I think Basil, you can move on to the next presentation.
Okay. The next
and if
presenter.
he comes later on.
Oh, okay. If he comes later, he can present after.
Can involve him. Yeah. So the
Okay.
next presenter is
Sipovskaya Yana Ivanovna. Analysis with the paper title Analysis of the Most Promising Parameter Linear Methods for Studying Intellectual Competence. The floor is yours.
Please go ahead.
I'm starting the demonstration.
Yeah.
Here it is. Now it didn't work. Okay, wait a minute, please. Леня, как ее запустить? Она чего-то не запускается.
I think it is all. You can start with the presentation. It is visible.
F5. Oh, here it is. Just, and now everyone can hear me. Yep, it's okay.
Yes, go ahead.
All right. I want to speak about the most promising parametric linear methods of studying intellectual competence. It is an example, intellectual competence, as it is a productive intellectual activity and production acts in our practice. The most meaningful idea is how we should study psychological districts, some theses or traits or anything else within these methods. And what is intellectual competence itself? It is a meta-cognitive structure, relates to our productive intellectual activity and production some acts we can make in our life. As a construct, it depends, it relates to some abilities. They are intentional, metacognitive, and conceptual abilities. So that we've decided to study the structure of intellectual competence with the use of parametric statistical methods. And our objective of the study is presented on a slide. And the subject of our study is to construct intellectual competence within its components using parametric statistical methods. Our subjects were students. They have uh, 14, 15 years. They were 8th grade secondary students who developed their intellectual competence while schooling and in their schooling. It would be the best way. And our theoretical hypotheses were connected to the methods we can use. More popular methods we can use in psychology and within statistical methods are factor analysis, discriminant, and analysis within some discriminants and regressional analysis. And what would be the best way within psychological traits and constructs? Our participants are presented on the slide. They were natural groups, so that we didn't normalize them at all. And our methods, psychological methods, they are all text methods, except one of them. It is Kagan method, when our participants should pick up an equal picture equal to the example. In other ways, they should write text or sentences, and we analyze sentence by sentence or word by word all these texts they can make. And now let us turn to the results of the discriminant analysis of our traits, conceptual, metacognitive, and intentional components of intellectual activity. This type of analysis reveals us only metacognitive structure of intellectual competence, voluntary and involuntary metacognitive traits. So we can't relay these results most of all. Then we turn to factor analysis. We make two tables within general factor of intellectual competence, general indicator, and some we analyze some particular sentences, so particular indicators of intellectual competence. And now we can see that the first factor include reflexivity. It is voluntary metacognitive ability and intellectual competence. And the next, second factor consists from conceptual abilities and involuntary metacognitive abilities. So we face up with metacognitive abilities again, and also conceptual abilities. While analyzing the, some particular indicators of intellectual competence, we can see that conceptual abilities, voluntary and involuntary abilities take part in intellectual competence. But we can't see involuntary, intentional abilities. So it is a pity situation, although correlation analysis revealed that this trait is very important for intellectual competence. Okay, maybe it is not for the structure of intellectual competence. Then we decided to conduct regression analysis, and we've got two equations that mm, get all three characteristics, all three traits in conceptual, metacognitive, and intentional abilities. We can say, wow, it is the best way, it is the best methods of analysis of intellectual competence and psychological traits, but we've decided to draw out a graph. And we can see that we can't relay these methods of analysis, psychological traits, for example, intellectual competence and intentional, conceptual, and metacognitive abilities, because it shows us nothing. So that we can draw out some conclusions that the best way, the best result relate to factor analysis and our experience with the regression analysis, linear regression analysis, is a pity. We can't get it. We can't relay these results. Also, it draws us beautiful equations, and we can stop this point. Another conclusions shows us on a slide. And first of all, we must tell that the structure of intellectual competence as psychological construct is not so linear, and we must conduct more deep type of analysis and develop this theme. So it is the main result we get. We revealed the most actual type of analysis within these more strict, more popular traits, and other are not convenient to the same. My contacts, and thank you for your attention. I'm waiting for your questions and suggestions. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. You have now 3 minutes for any questions.
Uh, yes, I have a question. And before a question, I just want to introduce that now the chair for our session, Dr. Swati, is with us. So, Dr. welcome to the session.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Raman.
Yeah. So, actually, we have already introduced your good self among all the presenters at the beginning of the session, but unfortunately, due to some technical glitches in the Zoom system, there are lots of meetings to be done. So there was some technical glitches there, so we got delayed by half an hour. But anyways, we welcome you, Dr. Swati. And I have a question for you that you have written that intellectual incompetence is a primary area which you are working on. So what happens when intellectual incompetence is done by the competent people in the industry? How it is addressed as a solution from your paper or from your side of the prospect?
The question is, what can we measure within school children? Yeah?
Yeah.
Why we think that they are competent or not?
Yes,
They
that's what
can
I'm.
write in text. While schooling, they are writing essay or anything else, or composers or something else. It is one of the product of their schooling, so that we analyze their texts. The more mm, the more some constructs they use in the text, the more developed their speech. Written speech, nevertheless, or oral speech, never mind. So that we use this link. Of course, there are, for example, mathematical competence, maybe, or some sports. They may be football leaders or anything else, but we use only intellectual competence. Intellectual competence within their writing activities, so that I'm telling about working with their texts, sentence by sentence, idea by idea, that they write down within some sentences or essay or anything like this. Do I answer the question?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. I think Basil, we can, Dr. Swati, do you have anything to ask for this?
No, right now, no.
Okay, so Basil, can we move ahead with the second presentation?
Okay, we are going to move to the next presenter. Should I share my screen? Okay, is Sergey Karashkin here present? He's going to present hardware control of the electron beam energy density by the heating spot. The floor is yours. Looks like Sergey is not here. Okay, then we'll move to the next presenter, Hitendra Shankarao Kharnar, presenting
Yeah, good
predicting
afternoon. Yeah, can
Good
you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can. Yeah.
Should I share my screen?
Yes.
Yeah,
Please.
thank you. Is the screen visible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is visible. You can go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. So, good afternoon. Myself, Mr. Hitendra Khairnar, associated with Department of Computer Engineering, Pune Institute of Computer Technology, Savitribai Phule Pune University, Pune, India. So I am a PhD research scholar with this institute. And first of all, I would like to thanks to organizer ICICT 2021 for shortlisting our paper and giving me opportunity to present my research work over here. So to begin with, my title for the presentation is predicting traffic path recommendations using spatiotemporal graph convolutional neural network. So this is outline of the presentation, introduction, the kind of work done by means of researchers in the field. I am using a graph as an data structures to represent the traffic network, a model for the path recommendation, the experiment that we have carried out, the results, and the conclusion. So nowadays, vehicle navigation is mainly used for the path recommendations for the self-driving and travel kind of purpose. As far as path recommendation is concerned, it also plays important role in a people's daily trip planning. So after referring literature in the area, we found that the algorithm for the traffic path recommendation has attracted good sort of what we can say attention of the research community. Available path recommendation algorithm used to what can say recommend a shortest distance or the shortest journey based upon and corresponding traffic paths only. So what we have observed that available recommendation algorithm neglect the current traffic parameters present at a specific location and at a specific time of a day. So we are coming up with a spatiotemporal graph, which is used to represent the road traffic network at a specific location, and also with the help of some time instances. So proposed framework learns the topological structure of a road traffic network in order to relate the spatial things as well as a dynamic change of the traffic parameter data in order to deal with respect to different time instances to recommend a traffic path across origin and destination location. What we are suggesting approach based upon the neural network and STGSTN. Based upon the learning of the previous time instances, aggregated path is prepared and that is getting used in order to recommend the shortest path specifically. Coming to the work done by means of researchers in the field, nowadays this transportation system focus has been shifted from the deployment of the physical system to improving the operational efficiency using the informed intelligence. Even nowadays in India, this FASTag based concept is incorporated recently from 15th February, and now all these toll booths are occupied with FASTag specifically. So what happens? So the motion sensors and cameras record these traffic details in uninterrupted fashion from the various road segments across the path. So by this way, vehicular traffic data prediction is a process of analyzing the traffic parameters and which in turn provide the basis for the transportation services of the traffic path recommendation. So such kind of forecasting provides a basis for transportation services and those kind of things. As far as path recommendation, accurate path recommendation, always been challenging job of a complex and special nature of the traffic data. You know, algorithmic terminology, most of these author calling it as a NP hard kind of problems. Yeah? So what we have observed that the fundamental parameters, those are important and then actively involved for the traffic, keeping the track of this traffic information or the flow, speed, journey time across the origin and destination location. So different researchers come up with their ideas for this traffic flow prediction across a particular road segment. So deep learning with a sequence of tannage layers and regularization techniques. So there are certain statistical learning algorithms using aggregation method. Spatiotemporal correlations, being a deep learning is a new area coming up, new techniques coming up in order to deal with various kind of problems, and deep belief network for this unsupervised feature learning. Uh, there are other what can I say parameters. Those are journey speed and actual speed by at a various different state at a different time instances. Those are approximated by means of various author. Uh, Multivariate principal component analysis for the journey time predictions across source and destination location. Different authors also exploited the relationship between the fundamental traffic parameter, namely flow, journey time, speed, and all this kind of things. So authors developed the optimization method to find out what can be the best speed with which vehicles can be traveled, how about the energy utilization of the individual vehicles and impact associated with respect to traffic flow. So relationship between the flow and speed specifically. So for journey time and then flow, again, researchers come up with a deep belief network, all this kind of thing. Coming to the recommendation, many times conjunction do occur. So A star algorithm is developed in order to select the vehicle which can be diverted and then the conjunction can be eliminated up to certain extent. GPS based framework also let you know what can be the optimal path other in order to avoid congestion, what can be the optimal path reaching to the from source to destination. And then there are the Bayesian learning algorithm also which let you know the circumstances of our route recommendation specifically. As I told you, I'm using graph as a data structure. So here it is the basic terminology, what in by path, the road network, which is collection of the vertices and corresponding edges. The vertices are representing the data collection location where data getting captured, and E are nothing but a link references, what you can say edges. So road segments, those are there. And then the graphs, those are prepared something like this. So we can see, say this is what a location where from where we need to start, and say for this is a destination. So we can have these values associated with respect to ages, and such graphs, those are prepared over the period of time, making it a time series kind of representation. So the problem definition is to design a framework for the prediction of the age weights associated with respect to ages at a different time instances using traffic data and spatiotemporal convolutional graph network. And then predicted age weights are processed with the help of well-known Dijkstra's algorithm in order to recommend the shortest path across origin destination pair. So which link or the which edge that we need to traverse, that depends upon, I mean, one need to identify what are the possible edges those will occur from source to destination. I'm listing out it as a E1, E2, E3 up to destination. And then we need to check it out. What will be the probability? What will be the what are the different instances when specific edge is getting traversed? So here the learning part, machine learning part come into the picture in order to estimate or the predict from the historical traffic data at previous locations, and from previous location to current location, which edge is coming into the picture. So this is what about you are there at you have already traversed ith edge, and then predicting about the E of ith edge. So how many edges those are there, I plus one number of edges, those might be exist in order to determine what will be the link reference that need to be traversed, that can be initiated from this ith to I plus one positions. So where n is the thing, but the number of link references, those are connected over there. So a proposed framework is something like this. We can see these different time evolving graphs appearing over there. Then we need to look towards previous history of say 180 minutes, and then come up with a different time evolving graph. Those will act as a training window of 180 minutes. We have a data set which is of say 15-minute instances. So likewise, we can have 15 minutes into 12 different instances, m value coming out to be 12, and corresponding temporal association, those are coming into the picture. So over the period of time, depending upon the learning of the previous weights, there's a estimated link recommendation, those are coming into the picture. And then depending upon the traffic speed, flow across the particular segment, weights are going to be changed. So in that sense, this graph will let me know, will help us to exploit the spatial context as well as the time, different time instances.
I'm
So
sorry,
overall,
sorry for the interruption, but you still have 2 minutes left.
Yeah, sure. So these are the aggregated values coming up with these parameters, what we have predicted. Data set we have used, which has a link references, descriptions, average journey time, speed, all these things. Methodology and for prediction assessment, we have used MAE and MAP. How many paths those are there, and what are the exact paths those are acumen, how many are the recommended, how well the recommended is able to recall the paths that exist. So this is what tactics we have used. Forecasting horizon of 45, 75, 90 minutes based upon the time frame learning data of previous 180 minutes. So previous 180 minutes to next 90 minutes, entire horizon coming out to be there. And these are the multiple paths that exist between the origin destination pair, and is what a shortest path cost between those things. So we have used tactic of this identifying true positive, true negative kind of cases and those kind of things. So in the future, we will also implementing this aggregation methods and trying to come up with identifying the more realistic paths that exist in between. So these are the references that we have read. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. There is 3 minutes for any questions.
To ask the questions about the
Yeah,
the
ma'am.
methods you use. Maybe it would be better with markers, networks within time and positions, so that it were your parameters. Am I right? Or there were some more parameters that I didn't notice?
No. There exists what I can say a data set which let me know what are the different traffic flow, speed, as well as time instances of duration of 15 minutes in which these things are getting captured. So while traversing from one location to another location, the parameters we do have. So rather than just focusing on the speed or only the flow, aggregation of these parameters that gives you a value of these corresponding edges. So across source to destination. So
I'm talking about
yeah. So these
another
are
type of analysis,
across
and
source
maybe
to
you will
destination.
compare the results, because that both of these methods could be used in that situation that you are exploring. Maybe one would be better or not, and you will decide.
Yeah, this is what something graph as a data structure to formulate a problem and then recommend predicting the weights.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jitendra, I have a couple of clarifications that I will speak to you. I hope you're able to hear me, Jitendra.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Jitendra, you are able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to, because you were talking of a data set which you said was available to you. So have you made use of some standard, or does some standard data set exist for this?
Yeah, this standard data set which is available over there, open source data set.
Okay, so which data set have you made use of?
So I use a data set of Highway of England. This is what a reference is there.
Okay. Have you also decided upon the type of road or type, the area from where this or area for which you would like to suggest?
Yeah, so this is what a reference number 16 gives me a data set which is available, and then a class A road network that we have used specifically.
And this is particularly for highways.
Yeah, highway network, highway road and corresponding information of these traffic parameters.
Okay. And you also said that there was a need for identifying some more parameters, because the prior studies were lacking in some parameters for identifying this traffic load. So
No, we're out of that, we are focusing on three parameters to begin with: flow, journey time, and speed.
okay. So from the parameters that prior researchers had identified, you have chosen these three.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, the time for questions is over. Now we're going to move to the next presenter,
Thank you.
Nadir Al Ansari, with paper titled Application ArcGIS on Modified WQI.
Right.
Yep.
Can you see the slides now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'll start. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to take about really the water quality of the river Euphrates within Iraq. So to start with, Iraq is located in the Middle East, and the Middle East is considered as an arid to semi-arid area, and where you have the long-term average annual rainfall doesn't exceed 155 millimeters per year. So this area is very sensitive to climate change. And for this reason, in fact, water resources issues is very important within this region. And if we are going to talk about Iraq, let me give you a brief information about Iraq. The area of Iraq is about 423,162 square kilometers, and the population is about 40 million in Iraq. The annual growth rate is high, it's about 2.5, and the water area is around 950 square kilometers. The climate is arid to semi-arid, subtropical, and continental in central and southern parts of Iraq, and it changed to Mediterranean climate at the northeastern part of Iraq, where you have the Taurus Zagros mountain range there. Iraq, in fact, it relies on its water resources mainly on the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. So this is very important, the flow of these rivers and the quality of water within these rivers. We are going to talk about the Euphrates. The Euphrates River, in fact, it rises in the southeastern part of Turkey and crosses to Syria for a short distance and then enters Iraq. The total length of the Euphrates River is about 2,786 kilometers. And inside Iraq, its length is about 1,160 kilometers. There is no tributary that join the Euphrates inside Iraq. And the total catchment area of this river is 444,000 square kilometers, of which 40% in Iraq, that means about 177,000 square kilometers inside Iraq. And if we look at something which is very important, in fact, for Iraqis, is the construction of dams in riparian countries. So Turkey has started since the 70s to launch what's known as the GAP project, and it includes about 22 dams, supposed dams to be built on the Tigris and Euphrates, and 19 hydropower stations. And now, if we look at the existing dams, there are 8 main dams on the Euphrates, 5 of them within Turkey and 3 in Syria, and only 1 in Iraq. And the one in Iraq, in fact, is very close to the Iraqi-Syrian border. And the objective of this research or work is evaluating the physical chemical parameters of 11 variables along the river Euphrates within Iraq at 16 stations. And estimating the water quality, we use the modified model of water quality, and we call it MWQI, for 3 years, 2009 to 2011. And then we did prediction maps of the modified water quality index for the Euphrates for each season, which means a dry and wet season. And then we did the same maps for the average value of the whole 3 years. And in fact, we used interpolation method, inverse distance weighing method, IDW, using the GIS system. And here you can see a flow chart of what we have done. In fact, the data first, we did the assessment of the parameters that we were using and their evaluation along the 16 locations. And then we did the modification of the water quality index, and we explained the equations of the new index, and then we calculated the modified water quality as 16 locations, and then we did reclassification of the modified water quality index in new classes. At the same time, we have used the ArcGIS, and we put the data in the IDWM model and for the 16 locations along the river, and then we exported these data to the GIS, and then we produced the maps. And these locations, you can see the locations that we have used along the river Euphrates in Iraq, and the parameters that I was talking about include Cl, SO4, HCO3, NO3, Na, K, Ca, Mg, Th, total hardness, and total dissolved salts, and electrical conductivity. And as I said a few minutes ago, we have used them for 3 years, 2009, 2010, and 2011. If we look at Euphrates within Iraq, there is something important that I should mention here. In fact, the flow of or long-term flow of the Euphrates is used to be about 30 billion cubic meters per year. And now it has dropped tremendously due to two main reasons. One of them is, as I said a few minutes ago, building of dams in the upper parts of the catchment. That means in Turkey and Syria. And the other thing is climate change. For this reason, the flow now doesn't exceed about 5 billion cubic meters per year. And this is very low for water use along the river Euphrates in Iraq. For this reason, in fact, there is some sort of a reservoir or depression which accommodates about 80 billion cubic meters. It's called Tharthar. And if you look at the map, it's at the middle of the map, this Tharthar. And in fact, what's going on, in fact, excess water from the Tigris is diverted to Tharthar depression during flood time, and then this water is released gradually to the Euphrates just to overcome the shortage. The important thing here, Tharthar water is very saline. In fact, the salinity is about 2000 ppm. And for this reason, it affects the water quality downstream the connection canal between Tharthar and Euphrates. So this is one of the main variables or reasons that affects the water quality downstream the Euphrates in Iraq. As far as the water quality index, in fact, we modified the modified weight arithmetic method, which is applied to compute the water quality index using these three equations. And you can see the symbols where we have used SBPI as the subindex of the ith parameter. DI is the value of measured concentration for the ith parameter. D naught is the ideal value in water for each parameter that has a value of 0, except, of course, pH is equal to 7. And SDVI is the value of Iraqi standard of rivers of the ith parameter, and IWI is the value of the inverse standard SDVI of the ith parameter. Then the equation we have used is number 4, and in fact, all what we have done is to change the range from 0 to 10 to 0 to 11 so that we can classify better way. And the classification we did, the modified WQI, if it is between 90 and 100, we call it excellent water quality. If it is 90 to 80, then it is good. From 60 to 80, poor, and then 40 to 60, very poor, 20 to 40, polluted, 0 to 20 is very polluted. So we have used this logic, in fact, in our work.
I'm sorry to
And
interrupt. You still have 2 minutes.
okay, I'll try to be quick enough. And okay, the prediction of the modified water quality map was obtained using inverse distance weighing model, IDWM, and the GIS software. And the prediction maps were done for the period I mentioned. And this is a quick look you can have at the results we have done for the 3 years for the different parameters. I'll go very quick through this. And this is the classes we have found along the Euphrates in the 16 locations. And if we look at this diagram, it shows you the variation in the wet season, dry season, and both seasons along the river Euphrates within Iraq. And now, if we look at the prediction, let's say, maps for the wet class, you can see always the upper part is better than the downstream part. And same thing, in fact, it can be noticed for the dry season, and even for the overall average, you will see the same thing. There is a deterioration of water quality downstream the Euphrates. And generally, we can say the water quality of the river is deteriorating downstream. And why? Because there are several reasons. One of them, discharge of wastewater to the river from agricultural and industrial activities. This is very intensive downstream the part of Iraq. So you have always returned water from, let's say, agricultural areas they dump it directly to the river. And then discharge of solid waste to river from industrial factories or, let's say, practices. And as I said at the beginning, the use of Tharthar reservoir water to back up Euphrates River basin shortage. It's already the Tharthar water is saline, so it causes some sort of pollution. And of course, Iraq has went through 2 wars, the Gulf War One and Gulf War Two, and there are plenty of remnants of these wars through ammunition and hitting industrial facilities and oil refineries. And this all contributed to the deterioration of water quality within the Euphrates River. And of course, the increase in population growth rate, it increases the water use, and this will, of course, cause some sort of deterioration. Thank you very much. I hope I have done it within the required time. If you have any questions, I'll be very glad to answer. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. You have 3 minutes for questions.
Mr. Nadir, I have one question for you, sir. You have proposed a modified water quality index
Yeah.
model.
In
So
fact, we
I would
modified the range only. It was 0 to 10. We did it from 0 to 100.
okay, so that is the modification that you have
Yeah,
proposed.
yeah. We didn't do that much modification, just the range. We have done this.
Okay. And how do you think this change in range has been able to improve upon the prior model?
In fact, we have used or we have went through plenty of work done. And the latest work was done by IOM, one of the United Nations, sorry, organizations, and it was released last July 2020. And it talks about, they did, let's say, long-term analysis of water quality, not only on the Euphrates, but they did it on the Euphrates and Tigris River. And what they said, in fact, in their report, there are thousands of people that they left their homes or villages due to the water shortage and deterioration of water quality, mainly on the Euphrates River. And from that paper, in fact, we thought it's better that let's have a look at the water quality of the Euphrates River. For this reason, in fact, we have done this well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any more questions? Okay, so the next presenter is Salma Sredi, presenting study of electric vehicle charging impact. The floor is yours. You have 10 minutes and I'll notify you on the 10th that you have 2 more minutes left.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to share my screen.
Yes, please.
Okay. I have just one remark. I think that you have changed my picture. This is not my picture. That I have submit at the website.
Oh, it may be a mistake, but
Yes.
we will fix it.
Sorry, I think Salma, I think the picture was uploaded quite long back on the conference portal in the schedule. If you have intimated us beforehand, we would have definitely changed it up. But no worries, we will change it and we will send you a new flyer. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
Perfect. Go ahead with your presentation.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to present a study of electrical vehicle charging impact. I'm Salma Sraidi from Mohammedia Engineering School at Morocco. My presentation will follow this plan. First of all, I will define the general context and expose the problem to introduce the electrical vehicle charging impact on the electrical network and how electrical vehicle could participate in the optimal dispatch of the transmission grid to finish with a conclusion and perspective. So today, the world's electric vehicle industry is developing vigorously. In 2019, the global electric car stock have reached more than 7 million cars. The national electric vehicle charging power will account for up to 25% of the national installed capacity in 2013. So all this electrical vehicle need to be fed from the power grid. Generally, to charge an electrical vehicle, we can use either a regular cable connection for the recharge, onboard battery in charging station, or wireless charging by using a magnetic field, which is an attractive solution with more flexibility. For the wireless power transfer, the principle is based on the achievement of a magnetic coupling between a transmitter and the electrical vehicle. To do this, we have two topologies, the static and the dynamic. For the dynamic wireless charging, we defined an electrified road system, which consists on 5 different systems as illustrated. It's for feeding the entire transportation fleet with an electrical energy. Electrical vehicles are large users of random electricity consumption and in turn have the ability to feed back the electrical energy to the grid and can be used as distributed energy storage for electrical network if necessary. Evaluating the impacts of electrical vehicle charging from the electrical network is currently the most concerned issue for many power grid companies, and it is also the basis for the subsequent optimization and scheduling of electrical vehicle charging and discharging. Electrical vehicles employs power electronic controllers that interface the vehicle electric power system to the grid. This controller usually include an onboard alternative to continuous converter, which is coupled to the grid via a single or three phases connector. Therefore, the impact of electrical vehicles need to be analyzed. The impact is expected to be significant due to the high energy capacity and the mass deployment of electrical vehicle in the future. The timing, general timing for electrical vehicle to enter the grid for charging is not predictable. The amount of the demand, the requested power linked to each type of vehicle is not expected either. Therefore, when evaluating the impacts of electrical vehicle charging, it is necessary to model these uncertain factors to improve the accuracy and comprehensiveness of the evaluation results. The modern method of charging uncertainty may include two methods. The first one is the key theory modeling method, which is based on three parameters X, Y, Z, where X is the distribution of car arrival time interval, Y is the distribution of charging time, and Z is the number of charging parking spaces. By this method, we could obtain the charging load expectation model of electrical vehicle cluster. The second one is the statistical modeling method to establish the random charging of electrical vehicle load model is to extract the distribution function of information as the charging time of grid time and driving distance of electrical vehicle from the traffic history database and the transition probability between different charging location through statistical modeling, and then we could establish the random charging of electric vehicle load model. After that, we could evaluate the impacts of this the electrical vehicle on the grid. The disorganized charging of electrical vehicle usually use a boost in the peak to vary difference of electrical load, as I said before. When charging load is large, problem of voltage offset and three phases imbalance could occur, which will endanger the stability of the power grid. When penetration rates of electrical vehicle reach certain percentage, the sum of its charging load and conventional load could exceed the amount of power on the existing distribution network, and therefore a charging load must be optimally controlled. In addition, if electrical vehicles are charged at peak load, the medium voltage distribution network will have a line terminal overload. Also, the rise of penetration rates of electrical vehicle could heat up the transformer, so the service life of the transformer will be shortened. Uh, According to a study selecting a typical residential curve in summer and winter, the study the effects of electrical vehicle charging load on the daily activity of the distribution network. They find that the natural charging behavior of car owner is usually the same as the evening peak of residential load. The partial results in a large deviation of the node voltage on low voltage distribution grid side and an increase, of course, in network loss. Also, the nonlinear characteristic of electrical vehicle charging pile brings certain harmonic pollution to the grid, which will lead to increase losses and faster loss of power distribution equipment, which could affect the economy of the distribution grid. When infiltration rate of electrical vehicle is huge, the power quality could be also seriously affected. The impacts of the impacts of electrical vehicle charging cannot be ignored even at the of development. The considerable integration of electrical vehicle into the grid not only, as I say, affects the distribution grid, but also affects the transmission grid. If electric vehicle were charged in uncontrolled way, they could increase the peak on the grid charging the grid, since charging trends could match existing load peaks and thus contribute overloading and the need for upgrades at the distribution and transmission level. Additionally, this extra load would result in upgrade needs in the generation capacity. So the uptake of smart charging for electric mobility is expected to establish a positive feedback loop with renewable integration, given that the e-mobility is a power-dense, mobile, and controlled load. The vehicle can become a grid-connected storage unit with a potential to provide a broad range of service to the system. Smart charging not only mitigates the EV cost demand peak, but also can adjust the load curve to better integrate variable renewable energy. And also, smart charging could reduce the costs associated with reinforcing local electricity grid. Smartly charged electrical vehicle can help to reduce variable renewable energy curtailment and improve local consumption of variable renewable energy production, avoid investment in peaking generation capacity, and mitigate grid reinforcement needs. Standing idle while parked for most of the time, electrical vehicle could provide a range of service to the power system, depending on the smart charging approach, unidirectional control charging, vehicle to grid, or vehicle to home, or vehicle to building. For our study, we proposed a system for recharging or continuous supply of electrical vehicle by an electric rod equipped with coils for inductive dynamic recharging from the network and renewable energy, with an integration of storage units as a local power catches to limit the peak of power caused by electrical vehicle. Our purpose is to enhance the wireless power transfer answer toward a total integration for this electrical vehicle, and the electrified road would be supplied by both solar, wind, and power grid. The aim of this system is both to absorb the excess energy produced in period outside and protect the network against peaks requested during the rolling of electrical vehicle on the electrified road. As a conclusion, the large deployment of electrical vehicle could result in a violation to the electrical grid and have a great impact on the operation of the transmission grid and distribution network. And as a perspective, exploring electrical vehicle and the potential of automobile cluster to participate in power system dispatching, to transform the challenge of charging EV from the grid into an opportunity for the grid as a new solution. Thank you for your attention. If you have any question.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. You have 3 minutes for any questions.
Okay, Salma,
Yes.
have you also worked on the percentage of road that should be covered with these contactless charging that you were talking about?
Yes, the aim, we have found that contactless charging is more flexible and will help more for a total integration of electrical vehicle, but it have some inconvenience on the charging. on the electrical network. So we have proposed to integrate it with the renewable energy and the storage unit system local power catches to more help this integration without hurt the grid.
So we will have some charging stations for this.
So
The vehicles have to go in for some charging
a
station.
charging station, yes. Yes, there's some electrified road in the world. There is a project with the Renault and the École and the Central School at Paris working on that. There is another project, ORNEL, who working also on this project. Yes, there is some. There is electrified road. We find it in roadway or yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, so our next presenter.
Thank you.
Okay, our next presenter is Fahad Al-Amyal, presenting an analytical approach for the turn-off angle in switch reluctance motors. And sorry, there is a mistake in the flyer. You can share
no
your
problem.
screen.
I will share. Do you see my presentation?
Yes,
Yes.
you have 10 minutes. The floor is
Okay.
yours.
The outline of my presentation is as shown. I will start with a short introduction, the objective of my work, the proposed turn-on and the turn-off angles, and their calculations. And the result will be divided into the offline result and the simulation results and the conclusions. First of all, in the present, the energy sources, environmental pollution, and noise are considered as the main problem facing many countries due to the use of conventional vehicles. An alternative is the use of electric vehicle can greatly minimize these problems. The electrical vehicle main component is the electrical motor and it is driving circuit. Too many type of electrical motor that can be used, but for each type there is an advantage and a disadvantage. However, among these type, the switch reluctance motor is an excellent candidate to be employed in the electrical vehicle because it has no winding in the rotor and therefore its construction is very simple and therefore it has high reliability. Another feature is the maximum starting torque and the high efficiency, and also it can operate within high temperature. However, the only drawback of switch reluctance motor are the significant torque ripple appearing in the motor. You can notice here I have two pictures for a torque profile of switch reluctance motor. This one is unacceptable torque profile because you can see here a fluctuating in this area. And this one is a very good torque profile. Of course, many techniques have been proposed earlier to improve the torque profile, but this technique may be complicated. In this work, the objective of my work is to improve the torque profile of switched lattice motor by building a simple controller. So the cost and the complexity of the controller is minimized. How I will do this? Previous study showed that changing only the switch on and the switch off angle can greatly affect the torque profile of the switched lattice motor. In this work, the turn on angle is selected to optimize a multi-objective function, which is shown here. This objective function consists of two criteria. The first criteria is the torque profile, and also the second criteria is the motor efficiency. Here we have a weighting factor. The weighting factor for the torque profile is higher because the main object of this work is the torque. So a higher attention is given to the first criteria. The turn-off angle of the motor, however, is calculated analytically. This is my proposed equation for the turn-off angle. This equation ensures that the incoming phase current is this one, reach the commanded value exactly at the turn-off instant of the outgoing phase. This is the main idea of this equation. How we calculate this angle? First of all, this angle should be the turn-on angle and the offline and the turn-off angle calculated offline. We run the motor in constant speed and constant current, and first we give an initial random turn-on angle, and also we calculate the corresponding turn-off angle and run the motor offline and check the torque profile and the efficiency. If the objective function is maximum, then we have reached the optimal value. We repeat this algorithm in many points of speed and reference current, and we have this offline result. To the left, you can see that the turn-on angle, and to the right, you can see the calculated turn-off angle. We can store this. The turn-on angle can be stored in a memory or lookup table, and then can be inserted to my proposed controller shown here. This is a closed loop online speed controller for the switched lattice motor. The output of the speed controller is the reference curve. And here we have a memory for the previously calculated offline turn-on angle. And from the present situation of the motor and the present speed, the optimal turn-on angle can be obtained. And we have an online calculation for the turn-off angle from the previous equation, which depend on the turn-on angle and the present speed and the current of the motor. These two angles are fit to a hysteresis current controller. And of course, IGBT converter is required to run the switched lattice motor. The IGBT converter used here is a symmetric bridge converter. I choose this type because it is available in the market, and I plan to make a journal paper and include experimental results. The simulation result of this closed loop speed controller is as shown. We have fit a different speed for the motor, and you can see the efficiency of the motor is maintained in a good value between 90 and 95%. And the online variation of the switching angle is shown here also. The switching angle are changing because the speed are changing, and therefore at each instant the controller gives the optimal angle so as to maximize the efficiency and to improve the torque profile shown here. This is the torque of the output torque of the machine, and this is the orange line is represent the torque ripple of the motor. You can see that the torque ripple is maintained in acceptable range, which is about 25%. A strategy to adjust the switching angle of the switch selectors motor have been presented. The turn-off angle is offline selected to maximize the motor objective friction, while the turn-off angle is online calculated using proposed equation. The simulation is carried out on 1 kilowatt three-phase switch selectors motor prototype. The results show that the torque ripple and efficiency are improved. Thank you for your attention, and I will try any question to answer any question if you want.
Thank you for your presentation. You have 3 minutes for questions.
Dr. Swati, do you have a question?
Yes, actually, not exactly my domain. However, would like to understand as to what is the improvement that you have found over the prior results. How would you be able to gauge the quantity or the volume of difference that you have brought about through this experiments?
Yes, actually in my paper, I compared my result with other result, but I didn't put here because there is no time to put all the result in the presentation. And when I compared the result, the difference is shown that give the torque ripple is minimized much better than the other results.
So the difference is a significant difference.
Yes.
Anybody else has a question?
Are there any more questions? Okay. We'll move to the next presenter, Ari Haponen. The paper title is A Mapping Study of the Current Literature on Digitalization and Industry 4.0 Technologies, Utilization for Sustainability and Circular Economy in Textile Industries. The floor is yours. You have 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Just to check, can you hear my voice?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
And we can
thank you.
see.
All right. So yes, that's our topic. We had two authors on this paper. I'm the main author, and my responsibility was to basically build the research setting and collect the data, and my co-author was helping me on all the way in the process. And just a few words from the circular economies. Why did we do this? Basically, we are seeing that the digital technologies have a huge possibility to increase and enhance the circularity in different business areas. And especially we were interested on fast fashion. As we all know, the fashion industry is using a lot of resources for first to make the garments, and then on the other hand, because these garments are not daily used by the people, considering the resources which are used, the garments themselves are highly unutilized. Let's put it like that. So on the other hand, we have seen in the current literature that digitalization and Industry 4.0 technologies and ICT in general has given the possibility for other industries to be more sustainable and to be able to generate circular economy based solutions and transform the industries on that direction. So what we wanted to do, we wanted to see what is the current relationship with ICT, digitalization, digital transformation, and that kind of a technology literature, and then this textile industry sector. So is it highly matured? Is there a lot of research available for practitioners, or what's the actual situation? And just to visualize the let's say bigger picture in the Industry 4.0, of course we have the opportunity for recycling. That's quite clear. But on the other hand, if we collect data from the whole life cycle of the product from sales, distribution, manufacturing, sourcing to raw materials, and we take all of this information back to product design, and for example, utilize artificial intelligence in design and big data analysis, we could be more circular in many different levels, taking also in account the recycling possibilities for the recycling for the products in the end of the life cycle. But that's just as a background. In the mapping study itself, we started from the Scopus database. We wanted to see the industrial papers with textile connection with this digital and technology kind of content, and then wanted to find publications which would be talking about circular economies, recycling, sustainability, waste, and so on. We actually found over 1,500 publications in the first run, but then mainly the work was focusing on the last 10 years, which did reduce the papers to roughly in 1,000 publications. Then we made a fast overview on the content of the papers just to remove the non-related materials with different limitation keywords. There was things like human hairs, membrane research, metals and steel, things which were definitely not related on the content for the publications that we were looking for. And in that situation, we ended up 450 articles for manual review. Shortly for this manual screening, we had 3 steps. We started from the titles, which actually was surprising that almost 400 papers was rejected already based on the titles. And for rest of the publications which were not selected as a good publications, we had to go into abstracts and then full text, which was as a process left us with 20 publications as a set of quite well fitting and contributing papers. We were really not that happy on the number of publications. We were thinking that maybe we did miss something. So we went back on the 20 papers and we did kind of a snowballing strategy. So we started to read the specifics on those papers and tried to find new keywords. We did find a few, for example, to apparel and upcycling and that kind of a keywords. And we combined it to IoT and this artificial intelligence, smart technologies, which was mentioned previously. And we ended up with 88 new articles. We processed them once again with 3 steps. 15 papers were potential, 8 of them were duplicates, and 7 was actually unique and new papers. So 27 papers total found for this review. Next step was to look at what is actually the amount of publications per year. So we wanted to see that how this sector has been developing, and it was quite clear that 2017 has been the first actual year with kind of a time when the trend has started to build for this kind of a research, and then it has been gone up with the quite normal phase. We actually found one publication already to be released in this year, 2021 too. Looking for the contribution, so is it book section, conferences, journal articles? It was interesting to see that 21 of these 27 papers were actually journal articles. So people who are contributing in this sector, they are doing that through high quality journals. So not that many publications, but the ones which you find are mainly in journals, which is quite interesting finding on currently on this research phase. And considering that the most of the publications were from the 2017 and up, this is the top 10 publications with different citation forums. So we checked Google Scholar, Scopus, and Web of Sciences. There is 2 papers which are completely in their own group, having received a lot of audience from the people who have been referencing them, and 8 papers with quite nice success already on a few years. And that actually was kind of our part of our findings. So there is 75 different authors found from these papers, with 74 are unique. So there is only one author who has currently contributed in more than one publication. And he's actually contributed only on 2 papers from the 27. So what can we say currently with the findings from the literature review is that there is clear research gap on this area. So anyone researching Industry 4.0, ICT, IoT technologies, smart technologies, there is a need in the fabric sector is digitalization related publications currently. And like said, it's 2017 was the year when they started to make the publications. So in that sense, quite new research area. And one could say that it would be nice to see more case studies and practical successful implication analysis research work in this area. It would probably help a lot of the practitioners. And there is clearly a lack on amount of contributions. And it seems that any researcher who will be contributing in this sector is probably in a positive situation that he or she will be receiving quite easily a lot of references, because people don't have many choices to which papers to give references. So that is my roughly 15 minutes of fame in the related on our literature review. If there is any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you for your presentation. You have 3 minutes for questions.
Okay.
Mr. Hari, Mr. Ari.
Yes.
So from the inferences that you have drawn after mapping these studies, can you also propose some solutions to the issues that you have raised through your studies?
Well, based on the publication and our previous history in this topic area, it seems that a lot of decisions are already made in the design phase, both in the design phase of the garments, the fashion products, and then in the design phase or decision phase on how and where they are manufactured and what kind of raw materials are used. So from the sustainability point of view, a lot of better decisions could be made on the early parts of the process.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We will move to next presenter, which is Sergey Kurashkin. Is Sergey Kurashkin present? Okay. Okay, Sergey Kurashkin is not present, so
I think Sergey is here, but I don't know. It's not actually in contact. No worries. I think Basil, we have any more presentation for the session?
no, they are over.
So let's invite chair of the session, Dr. Swati, for the closing remarks as well as her remarks on the presentations. So over to you,
Yes.
Dr. Swati.
I sincerely thank our authors for their excellent presentation in this session and all our participants for being a part of this international congress. I hope this session was informative and knowledgeable as well. All the presenters would be getting their digital certificates through mail within 2 working days. Further, all the papers have already forwarded to the Springer. The publication will be live within 4 to 6 months. Kindly cooperate with the team of ICICT 2021 as and when intimated. I also thank our session chair, Professor Swatifi Chandy, for chairing this session. A token of appreciation to the chair on behalf of the team ICICT 2021 and the Global Knowledge Research Foundation. Thank you for your valuable presence. Now, dear all, I kindly request all to turn on their cameras for a quick snapshot of the virtual conference.
Basil, can you close your screen? That will help.
Yes, I'm trying because I'm facing a technical issue as well.
At the time, Dr. Swati, do you have any remarks for the closing session? Over to you.
Well, I would just like to say a couple of sentences before we close up. So I would like to thank you, Dr. Amit Joshi, and also Dr. Vijay Singh Rathod for having invited me. I'm glad and I'm honored to be a part of this event and thankful for the opportunity to listen to the ideas and the research findings of the researchers who are here in this session and who have made their presentations on this e-platform from across different corners of the globe. The presentations to the presenters, I would like to say thank you for the very informative and impressive presentation. I'm particularly amazed by the wide range of domains that the researchers presented on. Their studies ranged from different domains. So it was a pleasure to be here and be a part of this vibrant event and see these youngsters present and share their studies with their peers with confidence and conviction. I'm sure it has been an enriching session for all of us. Thank you, Dr. Amit, Bessel, Richa, and Dr. Vijay. Thank you, presenters.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Very much, Dr. Swati. And I think, Basil, can we share a token of remembrance to Dr. Swati? If your screen is okay now.
Yeah, it's not. I am now. It's okay. Yes.
Yeah, you can just share a screen.
Okay, I'm gonna. I'm gonna share my screen now with the certificate.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Basil.
Thank you.
Dr. Swati, this is
Thank you.
for you, and you will receive it once the session is over the mail. Thank you
Thank you so
very
much.
much.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.